The worst place on Earth to be human, according to science. Imagine Earth as the perfect home: air to breathe, water to drink, places to live and explore. But hidden across this same planet are regions so hostile that they seem designed to repel us. They punish our lungs. They shut down our circulation. They crush, freeze, or cook us. And in some of them, even the water, the air, and the ground are dangerous at the same time. Today, we're going to compare 5 of Earth's most extreme environments and ask a simple question with a brutal answer. Which one is the worst place on Earth to be human? We'll visit the hottest desert basin, the thinnest air on the tallest mountain, the deepest point in the ocean, the coldest occupied outpost on land, and a volcanic salt desert that looks and behaves like an alien world. At the end, we'll crown a winner. Or maybe it's better to call it the champion of places no human body belongs. Let's begin. Death Valley. Heat that unravels the body. Start with heat, because heat kills quietly and quickly. Death Valley in California holds one of the most famous temperature records on Earth. In July of 1913, the air temperature at Furnace Creek spiked to 134 degrees Fahrenheit, or 56.7 Celsius. Even without chasing records, summer days here routinely climb well above 120 Fahrenheit. Ground temperatures can soar close to 200. That's oven heat radiating back at you from the rocks, the sand, and the salt flats. Human bodies are remarkable machines, but they are water-cooled. In extreme heat, your body tries to dump heat by sweating. In Death Valley, the air is so hot and dry that sweat evaporates almost instantly, and the cooling benefit collapses. You don't feel wet. You feel fine until you suddenly don't. First you get thirsty, then lightheaded. Then your core temperature rises past the safe zone. Proteins begin to misfold. Organs lose function. Heat exhaustion becomes heat stroke. Confusion sets in, and judgment goes first, which is why hikers sometimes make catastrophic choices at the exact moment they need to conserve energy and find shade. Even at night, the valley can stay painfully warm. The basin geometry traps air. The surrounding mountains bounce hot winds downward. The landscape itself acts like a storage heater, releasing the day's energy long after sunset. Dehydration is relentless. You can lose liters of water without noticing. If you run out, the clock starts ticking fast. With enough water, shade, and planning, people can pass through Death Valley and even enjoy its strange beauty. Without them, this place is a countdown. Heat doesn't shout. It whispers, and then it wins. Mount Everest. The air turns against you. Now trade heat for height. Mount Everest is the highest point on Earth, but it is not the most forgiving. Above 8,000 meters, about 26,246 feet, climbers enter what mountaineers call the death zone. The name isn't drama, it's physiology. At that altitude, the air pressure is so low that the amount of oxygen per breath is roughly 1/3 of what you get at sea level. Your blood can't carry enough oxygen to your brain and muscles. You are slowly suffocating, even if you're standing still. The symptoms are ugly: headaches, nausea, slowed thinking, slurred speech, balance problems. Fluid can leak into the lungs, a condition called high-altitude pulmonary edema. Fluid can also leak into the brain, called high-altitude cerebral edema. Either can be fatal. Together, they're a race you rarely win without immediate descent. Now add cold and wind. Temperatures near the summit can fall to -60 Fahrenheit or lower. Winds can reach hurricane strength. In that combination, exposed skin freezes quickly. Fingers numb, goggles ice over. A simple task, clipping a carabiner, tightening a strap, zipping a jacket, becomes a puzzle your hands can't solve and your brain can't focus on. The strangest danger is psychological. Low oxygen breaks decision-making. Climbers have walked past people in trouble because they could not process what they were seeing, or because they knew that stopping might doom them both. That's not cruelty. It's the brain failing under chemistry it was never meant to endure. More than 200 bodies remain on Everest, preserved by the cold. They are markers on the route, reminders that even the most ambitious species on Earth has strict limits. If Death Valley cooks you from the outside in, Everest stars you from the inside out. Mariana Trench, pressure beyond imagination. From the roof of the world to the planet's deepest scar. The Mariana Trench in the western Pacific Ocean contains the Challenger Deep, a point nearly 11 kilometers below the surface, about 36,000 feet down. At that depth, the pressure is more than 1,000 times the pressure at sea level. Imagine the weight of a commercial airliner pressing on every square inch of your body. That's the scale. For an unprotected human, survival is not measured in minutes or even seconds. It's essentially zero. The water would force itself into every air space. Lungs, sinuses, the tiny pockets in your body, and the pressure would crush tissue and bone. Even technology struggles here. Deep-sea submersibles need special hulls, tiny viewing ports, and precise engineering to avoid catastrophic implosion. Light never reaches the trench floor. The water is just above freezing. Yet life exists, adapted, flexible, strange. Creatures rely on detritus falling from above or on chemical energy from Earth's interior. Their bodies are built to resist pressure we can barely calculate, using proteins and cell structures tuned for a world that would destroy ours. Psychologically, the trench is a perfect mirror of human fear. Fear of the dark, fear of crushing weight, fear of isolation. It's one of the few places where the mind and the physics agree completely. You do not belong here. The distance between you and safety is not horizontal, it's vertical. And it's miles and miles of water that you cannot climb. If Everest is hostile because the air thins to nothing, the Mariana Trench is hostile because the water thickens to everything. It is the anti-human environment. Our bodies are balloons. The trench is a fist. Antarctica's Vostok Station, cold that breaks matter. Return to land, and to cold, real cold. Antarctica is the coldest continent, and Vostok Station, a Russian research outpost on the East Antarctic Plateau, holds the record for the lowest natural temperature measured at Earth's surface, minus 89.2 degrees Celsius, or minus 128.6 Fahrenheit, recorded in 1983. Numbers that low are hard to visualize, so think about materials. Gasoline gels, rubber stiffens, some plastic shatter, metal grows brittle. Breathing air that cold can crystallize moisture in your respiratory tract. Skin freezes in under a minute. Touch metal with bare hands, and you can stick to it. Antarctica is also a desert. It receives less precipitation than many warm deserts. What you see is ancient snow blown by relentless winds, compacted into ice over unimaginable spans of time. In winter, the sun vanishes for months. The world becomes a field of black sky and white ground, a two-color planet that never changes. The cold is only half the story. Isolation compounds it. For long stretches, planes cannot land at Vostok. If something breaks, it stays broken, or you fix it with whatever you have because help is not coming. Researchers report sleep problems, mood swings, and a condition sometimes called winter over syndrome. Your body and mind were not built for endless dark, monotony, and confinement. Antarctica can be survived with technology, teamwork, and planning. But remove any one of those, and the place reveals its true nature. It is not actively trying to kill you. It simply does not care whether you live, and indifference at that temperature is deadly. Now to Ethiopia's Danakil Depression, near the borders with Eritrea and Djibouti, a landscape that looks like a science fiction set and behaves like a stress test for biology. Danakil sits more than 100 meters below sea level. It is one of the hottest places on Earth year-round, with average daytime highs often above 40 Celsius or 104 Fahrenheit, and frequent spikes much higher. The heat alone would be enough to drive most people out. But Danakil does not rely on a single weapon. This is a tectonic rift zone where Earth's crust is stretching and tearing. Magma sits close to the surface. Hydrothermal vents pump superheated water upward through salt and volcanic rock. When that water reaches daylight and meets air, it leaves behind fantastically colored mineral deposits. Yellows, greens, oranges, along with pools and springs that are visually stunning and chemically vicious. Some of these pools are highly acidic, with pH values near zero. Others are hypersaline brines loaded with dissolved salts. the water activity, the measure of how available water is for life, is so low in certain spots that even microbes struggle. For years, scientists debated whether anything could live in the most extreme pools at all. The answer seems to be, in some of them, probably not. They may be among the few places on Earth that are truly sterile. The air can be just as hostile. Volcanic gases, including sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide, leak from vents and fractures. Sulfur dioxide inflames and scars lung tissue. Carbon dioxide is heavier than air and can pool in low spots, displacing oxygen. You can suffocate without realizing what's happening because carbon dioxide has no smell. Chlorine and other irritants may be present as well, burning eyes and airways. Underfoot, the ground is not trustworthy. Salt crusts hide scalding brines. Thin mineral shells can collapse. What looks solid may be a veneer over boiling water. Step wrong, and your protective gear becomes decoration. And yet, people come here. The Afar people have crossed and worked this region for generations, harvesting salt in slabs and transporting it by camel caravan. The work is punishing. The loads are heavy. Heat illness is common. It is a living built on endurance, knowledge of the land, and constant movement. For a lone, unprotected human, Danakil is a complete problem set with no correct answers. You cannot drink the water. You cannot trust the ground. You cannot escape the heat. You cannot breathe deeply. Shade is scarce, and what shade you might find is often frangible salt or sharp rock radiating heat back at you. The nearest true refuge is far away, and the path to it passes through more of the same. Danakil's beauty is part of its danger. The neon pools and terraces invite you to get closer, to see how the colors change with the light. Up close is the one place you should never be. The chemistry is wrong for your skin, your eyes, and your lungs. This is a landscape optimized for geology, not for life. If Death Valley is a hot room and Everest is thin air, Danakil is something worse, a system. Heat, toxins, unstable ground, corrosive water, and bad air interact to remove every path your body might use to stabilize itself. That is why scientists describe portions of Danakil as Mars analogs. What you learn here helps you understand the limits of life anywhere. So which environment deserves the title? Death Valley overwhelms your cooling system. Everest suffocates your cells. The Mariana Trench crushes you instantly. Vostok freezes matter until it behaves like glass. Each of these places is lethal in a clear, singular way. You can name the failure mode and design protection for it. Danakil is different. It attacks from multiple angles at once. Even if you solve the heat with shade and water you carried in, the water you find is poisonous. Even if you solve the water by bringing your own, volcanic gases can make the air unbreathable. Even if you wear a respirator, the ground itself can collapse into scalding brine. Even if you avoid the pits, the landscape is vast, exposed, and reflective, cooking you with sunlight from above and radiant heat from below. In engineering, redundancy is a strength. In Danakil, redundancy is the danger. Every hazard has a backup hazard. That is what makes it the worst place on Earth to be human. There are harsher single numbers elsewhere. Colder temperatures recorded at Vostok. Higher pressures in the deep ocean. But for humans standing on solid ground under open sky, trying to move, breathe, and think, no place removes more of your options more quickly than the Danakil Depression. It is not a villain. It is a reminder. Earth does not owe us habitability. We live here because a narrow band of conditions match our biology. Step outside that band, and the planet feels as alien as any world we can imagine. So why go at all? Why explore deserts that bake us, mountains that steal our breath, oceans that crush, and ice that breaks metal? Because each of these places teaches us something fundamental. Death Valley shows how heat and dryness reshape life strategies. Everest reveals how thin the line is between consciousness and confusion, and how dependent we are on oxygen. The Mariana Trench proves life can adapt to pressures we once thought impossible. Vostok teaches resilience, ingenuity, and the mental costs of isolation. Danakil pushes the limits of chemistry and biology, giving scientists a natural laboratory to think about life beyond Earth. We are a curious species. We go because not going leaves us ignorant. We study because not studying leaves us fragile. And we tell the stories because understanding the worst places for us helps us appreciate the places that let us live. If you're watching this from a comfortable room with breathable air, drinkable water, and a thermostat that works, consider how rare that combination is. Most of Earth does not offer it. Most of the universe certainly does not. The worst place on Earth to be human is a warning and a wonder. A warning about our limits. A wonder about life's reach. Respect both, and you'll see our planet not as a home we own, but as a home we're lucky to have. And that gratitude might be the most human thing of all.